I ain't made a Starfield video in a minute. You know, most of the time when it comes to Starfield, I made so much Starfield content in a matter of like 3 months. I just washed it away, man. Washed it away. Not like I was against making Starfield content. I just felt like I was making too much. But anyway, we back with Starfield. You know, clearly I beat it. I reviewed it. Even though I don't have all the gamer score for it for beating the game. I remember people try to come at me for that, saying Addict's lying about playing the game. No, what happens when you review certain games, and it's not every game, but certain games when you review, they don't give you the achievements or anything. But I could easily got a level 50 character. I pulled up on Starfield, man. I played that game for like 3 or 4 days straight, like 10, 12-hour days. It felt like I got a lot of time in Starfield. So when that game initially came out, even though I loved it, I enjoyed playing Starfield, it did disappoint me in a lot of areas. And I covered more of that in my review for it. So definitely go down there. I'll probably link it in the description if you want to go check that out. But we always knew that there was a DLC coming for it. Took a little bit. We found out it was called Shattered Space. Now, let's talk about Shattered Space. Corbro went around and he picked up some of the info from people. And let's go over exactly what's going on with Shattered Space. Shattered Space is going to be, by the looks of it, a very good DLC. You know, for the most part, you guys want to talk. There's a lot of aspects when it comes to Shattered Space that I see a lot of people want. I wanted certain things that they already did with pre-patches going up to Shattered Space. They've done a lot of, you know, quality of life updates. But I wasn't really going to jump back into the game until I saw a DLC. I think a lot of people are like that. When you play the initial game, you don't really go back until the DLC. Well, for me, that is. I got like 60, 70 hours in the game. It's just like, am I going to go in there and just play the same stuff I played before? Or am I just go ahead and wait till the game actually has new content? Mod support definitely helped too. So let's jump over here to this. Now, as you can see, Colobro, he got us taken care of. This dude's the GOAT, the VIP. Always crumbling stuff down to some bulletin points. I love bulletin points. Bulletin points. It's amazing. So let's go over these bulletin points. Horror driven. Now, you say something like horror driven. I'm kind of curious exactly to what degree. Is it just going to be horror, or is it going to be some aspects on top of horror? You know, there was good things that they've done with horror and bad things that people have done with horror. If you look at like one of the bad things, I would say like Doctor Strange, the one that was horror based, that movie, Doctor Strange 2. I didn't like that. Maybe you guys can disagree, but I don't like when stuff is driven to a certain thing. Now, because it's a game, it'll probably work out a lot better. I do think this is going to work out for the best for them because they are a space type of game. It's a universe type of game. So you could put a lot of stuff going into stuff like this. And I'm very curious on that. Well, the cool thing I like about this is it's looking like they are just mixing it up entirely. And for the most part, everyone that I know have heard or seen anything on Shattered Space, you know, they're really optimistic about it. We got combat intensive. I like that. I felt like even though there was a lot of good combat scenarios in Starfield, there was a lot of incidences where I'm just like, come on, man. Like, you know, you build up these uber powerful characters, especially ship combat. In the original Starfield, there was some stuff to do with ship combat, but I didn't feel like it was enough. So it is nice that they're going to bring, you know, combat to the focus a little bit. You can leave the planet anytime you wish, but the plot is entirely self-contained. The exploration of the planet and the city will lead to uncovering exactly what happened. So, for instance, I think this is going to be like an Alien kind of thing or a Dead Space kind of thing. You're on this area. You're on this planet. That something went down. You don't know what went down. And the whole point of being there is to figure out what happened to everyone. That's what I'm getting from this. And that sounds lit. I can't wait to try that out. Shattered Space Planet has more of an alien world feel. One of the biggest things I was disappointed with Starfield, and I understand that I wouldn't, Starfield's not necessarily supposed to be like a BioWare type of game, like a Mass Effect. It's not supposed to be in the center of that. But I wanted some aliens in Starfield. Is there going to be any aliens in this DLC? Probably not. But I do like that they're going to make some of the planets, some of the other areas in the game actually feel different. In a lot of scenarios in the original Starfield, the areas felt identical almost, with just like a different color palette. I want the visualization that when I go to a new planet, it's different. So I like that. Abandoned sci-fi corridors plagued by grim beasts. That sounds lit, man. I ain't gonna lie. Fear-like atmosphere. They're really going with this horror-driven aspect. How many of you played Fear? Put in the comment section below. I love the Fear games. I don't think I beat any of them. But if they're trying to go towards a fear aspect, I expect some hallucinations to some degree. Maybe some stuff like this in Dead Space 3 where you're seeing stuff that's not there. Like, I'm with this. I think they cook in here. They got something. A handcrafted world, new weapons, new gear, and new items. I love the handcrafted part. Now look, I understand the bulk thing that they sold us on when it come to the Starfield was the fact that it's like, look, like if you don't want to, you can go ahead and you could play this because everything is just generated. Everything in that game was generated. There was no handmade stuff for the most part. Now obviously the cities, some of the base stuff in the planet that you go to, that was hand shifted. But to me, it's like I'm tired of like the generated worlds. I'm tired of all of that. I'd rather, and maybe you guys are different, like 10, 15 good sized detailed planets than thousands. That's just me. I do think Starfield was one of those scenarios where because of the way the game and the way that Bethesda wanted the game to be made, it was probably more successful going the route that they did go, but I would have appreciated more hand-drawn planets. They could have still did the randomly generated planets. I felt like they should have just focused on a little bit more. Like the core story should have all been handcrafted worlds, but all the self-generated stuff should have been out there. It should have been around the core world, not necessarily like directly around it. But the core game should have been the handcrafted worlds, and then the randomly generated planets should have been something that they generate when the game is done. So for instance, I start a game, those planets that you would do the normal story on, those are all the same, but the other planets, they're the one that's randomly generated. Game's coming out September the 30th. That's a pretty good date, if I say so myself. Let me see. I don't know what comes out that day. If there's anything that comes out there that day. I do have a calendar with like a bunch of games around that. There is nothing on my end that's out that day. September the 19th, it looks like, Dead Rising, the remaster. But then that's pretty much it for that month. I would say you would start to see a little bit more of like the previews around this time. Astrobot, the casting of Frank Stone, those are towards the beginning of the month. So it's going to be interesting, to see what's going on here. I think this is going to be good, man. I think people don't underestimate Bethesda. I know a lot of people feel like they burn bridges with, some of their previous games being, broken. And I've always gave them the pass to some degree, because I understand making a game this expansive, making a game this big in general with the Fallout games, the Elder Scroll games, you're going to have jank in it, because the amount of people that's playing the game far exceeds the amount of people doing QA. I've always had this saying, if a company does everything in their power to make sure a game runs smoothly at launch, even if it doesn't run smoothly at launch, I'm willing to overlook it. For instance, when you do MMO games or you do multiplayer games and you have multiple open betas, multiple closed betas, I saw publicly that this company did everything they could to prevent this from happening. But sometimes, especially with these type of games and MMOs and multiplayer games, you can't determine everything. Does that mean Bethesda has done everything in their power to not have janking games? No. I'm sure they could have hired more QA. I'm sure they could have did a lot of stuff. But I'm willing to overlook it if I know there's some kind of attempt. I don't know if with this one, the game ran good for me when I played it on PC and Xbox. I played Starfield. But anyway, put in the comment section below what you guys feel about this. I'm very curious to hear your guys' opinion. You know, Starfield is a great game to me. I'm definitely going to jump back into it. You know, I'm getting a little bit of hypeness to play that game again. If you guys enjoyed this video, definitely hit that like button. It's always appreciated. You can always sub to the channel for weekly content. We update you on games. We update you on consoles. We update you on everything we can, man, except for Nintendo. You guys don't seem to really mess with Nintendo too much. But come in the comments, explode what you guys feel about all this. Definitely follow me on Twitter at Lord Addict IOP. I have a streaming channel known as Gaming Addict Arena. It's all that's in the description below. And until next time, this is Gaming Addict. I'm out of here. Peace.